Again, welcome everyone for joining us for TOC's L&D Showcase. My name is Joy Watkins. I am an executive board member of the Training Officers Consortium, and I serve as our program year event coordinator, in addition to serving as our the TOC 25 conference program chair as well. I want to welcome you to our next L&D Showcase. So hopefully everyone can still see my screen. A little bit of administrative action. I want to make sure you guys are very aware of your microphone. You guys have control of your microphone. I do ask that you keep yourself muted. Unless you do have a question and would like to ask a question, then it's at that point, please do so. I will be monitoring all the communication. So if I do see a hot mic, please do not feel hurt if I do mute you. That is just to make sure that we can continue moving this process forward. A little bit of TOC for those of you that are new to TOC, have not been with us before. Again, noted, here's our vision. We believe in building that community of TOC. Registered span our multiple federal agencies. So not only do we have federal agencies, we have professional industry. We also have academic institutions that come together and we meet and we discuss, and it's all about building our community and improving our professional development, our professional skills within the L&D community. And how we do that is by providing that those professional development programs, our program year, in addition to the TOC conference that we hold annually. Again, it's federal L&D professionals, industry, and academia that come together and teach each other and show each other different skills, best practices to help us all grow as a community for the good of the government. As you can see, 2024-2025 program year, we have Discover and Discuss. We have our deep dives. We have 2 more deep dives coming up in the next calendar year. We have our L&D Showcase, which is one of these items that we're showcasing today, and then other items that we do throughout the year, including our annual conference, TOC 25, which is occurring April 27th through April 30 at the DoubleTree Hilton in Center City, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And with that, one of the things that we do at TOC 25 is we showcase awardees, award winners for the agencies and industry that provide a different type of project or initiative within their organization. They submit those awards to our Distinguished Awards nominations process, which is still open, and it closes November 15th. So if you have a project or initiative that took place that has done well, that you've gained best practices from and would like to nominate your program, you can do that through our TOC website. And again, you have until Friday to do so. With that being said, we're always looking for volunteers. TOC is entirely volunteer organization. Everyone that serves on the board, everyone that serves in other aspects of the various committees that we have are all utilizing their volunteer time to do so because we believe in what TOC stands for and our mission and vision of TOC. With that, we have TOC award panelists that would be rating panels in January 2025. If you'd like to volunteer, we do ask that you submit a email to info@trainingofficers.org, and we'll get you on that list of panelists to review those awards. Additionally, we have program selection committee, so all those programs and facilitators that present at our annual conference, we rate those proposals. Those proposals closed last week and earlier this month, and we're going to be rating those in the next coming weeks. So if you're interested in that. And the last thing we have is room logistics. Anyone that's going to be at the conference in April, please let us know if you want to serve as volunteer for room logistics. And we'll give more information to everyone that would like to take part in that. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Ms. Melanie Fallon and Ms. Deb Gadsden from CMS, who will be showcasing their program, leadership development programs. And with that, I turn it over to you.
Well, great. Thank you very much. We're going to put our slide deck up now. So would you mind taking yours down, Joy? And Mel will, there we go. Perfect. Thank you so much. Great. It popped back off. There we go. Okay, great. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you today. So my name is Deb Gadsden, and I am the Chief Learning Officer with the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid. And I have Melanie Fallon, who is the Director of Talent Development at Centers of Medicare and Medicaid. And what I'm going to do is take you through a little bit about our journey for leadership development and kind of get to where we are today. A little bit of background about me. I have been in this field for over 35 years. I spent first half in the private sector. In the last 15 years, I've been lucky enough to be part of the civilian federal space. I started at the VA and now I'm at CMS. The reason I mention the VA is that VA had approximately 350,000 employees, and CMS has about 6,500. So part of what is so important about your leadership development programs is that it needs to really fit within your organization and your culture. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how we got to where we got to, and doing it in an organization of 6,500 in some respects is a little bit easier than 350,000, some of the programs we did there, just because of economy of scale. So when I got to CMS about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I did a lot of talking to people throughout the agency, from, lower to all the way to the top to SESs. And I wanted to understand how leadership development worked there, how training worked there, how professional development worked. And our areas are not technical, although we do have all the acquisition FAC training under us. It's not the very technical how to write a policy, your specific job. So Centers of Medicare and Medicaid, just give you a little bit of background, probably touches just about everybody in this country. If you aren't collecting one of our services, your parents, your colleagues, your friends, your grandparents are collecting some of the either Medicare, Medicaid, Affordable Care Act, CHIP, and a variety of other services that we provide. And so the mission of the organization is very critical to everything we do. And as I started looking through and talking to people, that dedication and that focus of mission was really, really important. And we're also located in Baltimore. So that's a little bit of interesting thing for background about our agency, is that a lot of people come here for life. They used to be called CMSers. And the reason why that's important, because it's so embedded into our culture. And we really needed to figure out, how do we build this program that really supports what CMS does? So as I started talking to people, it became very, very clear that they really wanted something very simple, easy to understand, but helps them to figure out how they're going to grow and develop within their current role or prepare them for a new and future role. So I talked to a lot of different people. We already had programs when I got there. They had a robust program. This wasn't all created from scratch. They had, the new manager programs. They had the refresher management programs. And then they had just a lot of open enrollment courses, as well as organization development programs. And so I started looking around. And if we go to the next slide, I'll share with you what our our leadership model looks like. It's one page. It looks very simple, but it has a lot of backing behind it. And first thing I want to say is philosophy. We believe, and we truly believe, that leadership levels are based on experience, not grade or position. So for example, our average grade is a 13 at CMS. Our managers start 14s and 15s. When I came from the VA, they had managers at GS-12. I don't know what their average grade was, but it's very different when you have a manager as a GS-12 and managers of 14s and 15s. So again, it really needs to fit the organization that you're in. And so we started looking at, how do we segment our audiences? And one of the ways that we looked at is we start at the very beginning. So we utilize pathways a whole lot in our agency, anywhere from the Presidential Management Fellows, PMFs, to having volunteer students in high school, to recent grads. We use them as a lot in our organization. So that is one segment. and we do individual development planning with them. We have a lot of professional development, and we provide them a lot of support. And leadership development is infused into all of their programs. The next piece that we looked at was all staff. And so again, individual development planning. But we have over 100 discrete courses that we offer, whether it's through contractors or our internal training staff. And Mel has a small but very mighty training staff that delivers a variety of professional development and leadership development courses. From there, we kind of carved out this little area of aspiring leaders or aspiring managers. And that's a common thing, but here's what I used to hear as I go around, and I still hear that. I'm a 13, I've been a 13 for 10 years, I want to be a 14. How do I get to be a 14? Well, that's my blunt comment, but I hear it all the time. So as learning and development professionals, it caused me to think a little bit. And there's a point in your career where you have to make that decision. Do I want to go into management and raise up in ranks in the agency, or am I good on the technical angle? And should I try to just get better technically or stay kind of in my current role? And so that's a very personal decision. There's no right or wrong answer to it. But when we put together a program, we wanted to do a cohort program. And this is really what a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is our cohort programs. We created an aspiring leaders cohort program that gave people a realistic job preview. And Mel's going to get into a lot more detail around this, but a realistic job preview of what it's like to be a manager and dispel a lot of the myths, the good, the bad, the ugly, the wonderful about what it's like to be a manager, and really help people to learn leadership skills that they can apply right away, but also have them starting to think through, what do you want to do when you grow up, and do you want to move into that management realm? So we'll talk a lot more about that because that's one of the programs we're going to highlight. Then there's also this segment, and we all have them, our new leaders, and we look at any new leader is new to CMS. So you may have been a manager in another agency, private sector, or you may be promoted from within CMS. And we kind of review that category all the same because we want people to understand the culture of the organization. We want them to understand our leadership philosophy. And we want people to make relationships and meet all sorts of new people and really build that foundational cohort of people that you want to have a relationship with, that you have throughout your career. So there's a couple of things we do targeted to new managers. We do a new leader briefing within the first 30 days, new manager essentials, and it's really everything you need to know to get going. It's a 2-hour session. It's not a big commitment, but just what do you need to do from a legal side as well as from a leader side, and who do you need to talk to, and what resources are available just to get you going as you're new to the agency or new to your role. We have LINK, which is Leadership in Context. That's our new manager program, and it's divided into 2 halves. One is the legalities of being a manager, and the other is pure leadership development. So we have both of those. New manager transition is something we brought in from the private sector, and it is a half-day facilitation that is optional. The other ones are required. This is optional, but it helps you to accelerate your relationships with your staff and your staff with you, and kind of airs out some of the things that you need to know in order to really accelerate your working relationships together. So for example, you're going to talk about what your pet peeves as a manager is. And I've gone through this a bunch of times and really air and dispel some of the preconceived notions about the new manager or what you think of your new staff. So I'm just going to give you a quick example. So I did a new manager transition when I started. And I was talking about the best way to get in touch with me. If you need me right away, text me. Don't send an email, don't call me, send a text. That's how I respond. And so we were talking about that as a team and going around and hearing how people, best, can get in touch with people. And somebody raised their hand and said, well, what happens when your door is closed? And this is pre-COVID. Can I knock on your door if your office door is closed? And I kind of looked at them bewildered. I'm like, yeah, you can knock on my door. And then I said, so help me understand, why did you ask this question? And they said, well, we had a previous supervisor who did not like to have their door knocked on. And you would just put, if you had to have papers or documents reviewed, you put it under the door. And I said, well, knock on the door. If I can talk to you now, I will. If I can't, then we'll do it I'll schedule a meeting, and please don't put paper under my door because it will be there for weeks. So just new manager transition is just another offering we provide for new leaders, new managers, to help accelerate and help set them up for success. Okay. Then the other segment we have, and we call this the experienced CMS leader. Those are those managers, I say, who've been there, done that, been in their role, at least in a management role at CMS for at least 3 to 5 years, some 10, 15, 20 years. And yes, they do the refresher course. We have those available for them. But we did another cohort program, and that cohort program it's really about how do we take care of those experienced managers who focus solely on their development of their staff and not themselves. And so we spent a lot of time talking to that group to really understand what their needs were, what their interests were, why they would go to a program like this. And, we partnered with Cornell University, but we found out a couple things that were really interesting. They said, please do not make me have to apply to participate or go through a nomination process. If I'm going to put forth the time, effort, and rigor to do a program, I want to be able to raise my hand. And we absolutely infuse that into the program. So it's by volunteer only. And there are a couple other things that they asked for, and it was just so valuable to help to co-create this program based on what their needs are. And then we also even have a cohort program for our executives. So we ran the pilot twice, and we ran it twice, and we're going to be doing it again this year. And again, it is targeted to what the needs of the SES are. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next slide. And this is kind of because I've talked about a few cohort programs, and Mel is going to debut 2 of them and really kind of share what they are. But I want to tell you a little bit about why we do it and what the elements are. So first of all, for us, we're not DoD or we're a civilian agency. So our cohort programs need to be focused on the needs of civilian agency or civilian government, because there's so many wonderful programs out there when you do market research, but a lot of them are private sector based. And I am not going, as I will not go and give examples using weapons in our programs, nor will I go in and talk about profit and loss. So it really needs to be targeted to our audience. And the other thing is we wanted to infuse our agency in it and highlight new programs or policies or new executives or managers and really kind of make it CMS centric. So that was another piece to it. We wanted to establish new relationships. I've mentioned relationships a lot because I really believe this is one of the ways that we learn, we grow, and we continue to grow and develop over time. So we have very intentional things that we bring into our programs that will help to establish and foster new relationships, whether it's with participants or with your instructors or presenters or whoever. we also truly believe if you're going to go through a program like these, that you need to be an active partner in running the cohort. So for example, they plan their own graduation and they do all the research, all the planning for it, and they execute it. So just also for our learning and development, colleagues out there, this also takes some of the work off of us too. So that's one of the reasons they get to apply what they learn, but with the staff that we have and the resources we have to figure out ways to free up some time for us. We also ask them, they become, once they graduate from our cohort programs, we call them family and friends, and they give back to future cohorts post-graduation. There's a few other things that they do post-graduation, which are interesting. The other things that we have really felt and work so well is we find a partner that does the central curriculum, whether it's a university, for our experience programs, we partner with Cornell University. For our aspiring leaders, we do partner with the Partnership for Public Service. And then we do wraparounds. So again, that helps with cost because we can negotiate cost for an entire program. But it also helps with our resources because we're doing that kind of combined using our staff, but also using a vendor. And that helps with the cost as well as with our resources. So those are kind of the outlines or the things that we put into our cohort programs. And we're very passionate about it because it is truly a way to continue learning even after you leave. And there's that group that they rely on. And we go back and we talk to them all the time. And we also do evaluations, and we'll get that into the end later on. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Melanie Fallon, I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Deb. I think that was just, well.
I was turning over to Melanie Fallon. She'll give a little bit of a background and talk you through about 2 of our programs that we're really proud of. Melanie, take it away.
Thanks, Deb. Hi, everyone. I am Melanie Fallon, and I have 21 years of government experience. I'm an Air Force veteran. I've worked at DOD, I've worked at the VA, I've worked at CMS and Department of Health and Human Services. So I'm really happy to be here today to highlight some of our programs. I have a real passion for what we do, and I'm the director of the Division of Talent Development. I don't know if I told you that, but so anyway, without further ado, I'm going to go a little bit more into the Peterson Experienced Leaders Cohort Program. So that's the program that we offer that's geared towards mid-level managers who have been managers for 3 to 5 years at CMS. And I will just give a little highlight. The reason why we named it the Peterson Experienced Leaders Program is because the gentleman that was foundational to its development passed away. So we've dedicated this program to him. And so let me give you a little bit of the background for this group. So we target GS 14 to 15 supervisories who have had 3 to 5 years at CMS or more. And we hope that through the development opportunities that we give them during the program, that they expand their leadership capabilities. We're hoping that they broaden their network by engaging with their peers. And so we do a lot of group work. We're very intentional how we bring them together. We've had happy hours. We've online, during COVID, and we offer, if people are in person in Baltimore, opportunities to collaborate and can work together. And then we have action learning projects where they're doing work together and they're learning about each other's strengths and weaknesses. And also, it's very diverse what we do around CMS. I think Deb alluded to that. So many different things from CHIP to Medicare, Medicaid, to serving, to you name it. There's so many different things that we do. And this is an opportunity for us to learn about what each other does at the agency so that we can tap into those experts in our own work. Hopefully deepening our perspectives through thoughtful discussion and varying points of view. So we do as Deb said, we have a partner that we usually work with. And for this program, we have Cornell University. And through their classes, they have online discussion feeds that they run through. We meet together at least twice a month, and we have discussion topics that we work through. And we're constantly doing teamwork with them. So they're really getting a various points of view about how others think and different ways of doing things. Participate in a variety of custom design developmental activities, which I'll go in a little bit because it's in the next slide. So I'm not going to go too deeply into this, but it's, as you suspected, coaching, mentoring, doing a 360 and more, and the classes, of course. And then I love this part of it because I think this is what, Deb alluded to a little bit in the last slide, that focus on public sector leadership and the focus on the private sector. We do bring a little bit of that element in, but I love that it's unique to this program. It's very CMS centric as we bring people into the organization. So they're learning specifically about using examples of what we use in the agency. So it's really applicable. And so also, another piece to this is the Cornell University curriculum. So we have 6 classes from Cornell University. The first 4 of them, the cohort, that we send them through 25 at a time through the cohort. So they'll stay, the 25 will go through the first 4 classes at Cornell together. So they're getting to know each other even more. This is just a closed class dedicated to them. And then the last 2 classes, they have the ability to pick whatever class interests them. And those classes are opened up internationally throughout Cornell's student base. So not only are they learning about different opinions from their own colleagues, but the last 2 classes, I love that it opens up to this international aspect and all of those. The different ways people look at leadership and the issues and problems that they discuss, becomes very varied. And then the last piece is it's a 10-month program. It's all virtual. And again, I talked a little bit about how we partner with Cornell University. So again, this is the design for this program. So I talked about the GS 1415 supervisory. They're interested in focusing on their own. I love what Deb said, that is so important, is that we did learn that this group in particular, they tend to ignore their own development. And this is an opportunity for them to focus on themselves, bring them in, and just it's well needed at this point because they've probably given out more than they can give anymore. So this is a little bit of a respite for them to feed them a little. Design methodology. I love this as well. We worked with focus groups, and this is, I think, something that is super important for all of the cohort programs we do. We tend to use this model because we get the best feedback this way, where we talk to our target audience, we talk to managers, we do that complete circle, and we really do find out some interesting points of view that we definitely incorporate. And I think that's what makes our program successful, is because we're really listening to our audience. We also do the qualitative needs assessment. And of course, we look at the market research. What are other people doing? What are they doing outside the government, inside government? So we do our homework first. The program delivery, like I said, it's in design and delivery collaboration with eCornell or Cornell University. So they have their own platform that they conduct their classes through in an e-learning environment. And then we also create this cohort-based program, which we do 25. We found that's our sweet spot, where we can give everyone the individual attention that they need and that we want to give them. We really want to invest in them, and we look at their success as our success. And so what is that I wanted to say? Oh, yeah. So the 25 cohort, it's 100% virtual as we're nationwide. So we're able to hit everybody. We don't exclude anyone, based on proximity. And then the program is 10 months in length. And so that's the delivery. The time commitment's about 6 to 8 hours per week, but in reality, we find it just varies per student. It depends on how long it takes the person to, complete. Some take a little bit longer. So we're looking at like 20 to 40 hours per month. Some features of the program, like I said, those development pieces, coaching, action learning projects, and accountability partners. The program is I'm going to go into a little bit more deeper around those pieces. But the self-nomination process is exactly what Deb said. They wanted to be able to raise their hands, and so we listened to them. And so they can nominate themselves, and they do have to have their supervisory approval, of course. But it's pretty easy nomination process, and everyone that applies gets a chance to go. And what we do is we take it first come, first serve. The first 25 that get in applications, they're in for the first cohort. And then if anybody over that applies, then we put them in the next year's cohort. So we do it each year, so everyone has the opportunity to attend. Another nice feature about this is the reflective best self, which I'm going to go into a little bit more on the next slide as well. But what I love about this is that we have what I think when you look at a cohort program, you really have to think about, you want to be able to have a little fluidity, a little bit of freedom to kind of like move and change as you're listening to the feedback from your cohort members, as you're listening to feedback around the agency about where we're going, what's new and upcoming. So for example, diversity, equity, inclusion, several years ago when that became a strong initiative at CMS, we were able to quickly put that initiative into our program design because we had a little bit of fluidity. So we were able to expand on that subject for that year. So I really enjoy that part of it. And so, like I said, I was going to go into the elements a little more. And so the coaching, we provide 3 coaching sessions from a certified ICF certified coaching person. And what we do is we have the RBSE, you'll see that orange clip right there. That's the Reflected Best Self instrument. So University of Michigan has put out this great it's a 360 assessment, and they put that out, and it focuses on positive psychology, which I love. So, you take it, and what you learn, you learn about the best about what you do, right? So your subordinates, your supervisor, it's just a typical 360, but they talk about places and times where they've seen you at your best, and they write anecdotal stories about it. And so you start reading these, the assessment when it comes back, the final results, and I've seen people cry. I've seen people it just changed from that. And, that whole concept of what do I do well at? How do I continue to grow what I do well at so I can be even better? I think that's been really life-changing for people. And so what we try to do is after they take we get the results from the Reflected Best Self, that's when we kind of say coaching would be great for you to do at this point, but we don't limit it. They can take coaching at any point that they want to, but we kind of explain that you'll probably want coaching after that. So our action learning projects. So at the very beginning of the cohort, we assign action learning projects. And like Deb said, we didn't want it to be someone else's work. We wanted this to be something that was pertinent to them, something that they had a passion to do. So, most of these projects, and they change every cohort we have, they change. But some, for example, are, how do we give back to the agency? And how do we give, one of the assignments was, how do I give back to the cohorts that will come in the future? And I love that one because what they did was they created a whole curriculum for people on how to onboard these new folks into the program. And not only did they create a guide, but they also took part in a panel. There was about 5 of those folks from the Action Learning Project to orient the new cohort, the next cohort that was coming in. And it was really, they just did it. We just onboarded a new cohort in September, and wow, it was a really wonderful addition for our orientation, and people really came up to speed after that. And it was really open and honest conversation. And by the way, we learn a lot as program staff, listening to, hey, look out for this or look out for that, or it would be nice if you knew. And so that helps us to kind of even further cement how we're going to onboard people. So that was one of the action learning projects. And again, we were talking about how people collaborate together, how they get to know one another. And this action learning project, we pick them. We don't, let people randomly pick the groups they're going to be in, so that they have kind of a mixture of people that they wouldn't naturally probably fall into group with. And then they get to learn each other really well through that period. And at the end, they report out on those projects. And you could tell, I mean, they have such pride in what they've done, and every one of them has just been outstanding. So that's a really nice component to the program. Touch points. So I want to really combine feedback on the very bottom to touch points, that the red tab over there, because it kind of goes together. So we do periodically, well, actually a lot. We do a lot of touch points with folks. We do them individually, and then we do them as a group. We carve out every Wednesday is kind of a time where we set aside on their calendars like an hour where we're going to touch base with someone. But that's that 1 hour where they kind of catch up with their assignments. We give them a call or whatever. And then we also do one Wednesday per month, we meet as a group. So, and we ask those questions. How is it going for you? Tell us, what are some of your roadblocks? That kind of thing. So we want to support them individually and as a group and hear that feedback both ways. And by the way, we don't stop touching base with them. After they graduate, we're continuously in communication with them. And the point of all that is our success is, again, intertwined with their success, but also we want to hear what they're saying about the program, how, what can we do to improve that? Continuous improvement thing is something that's super important, as you all know, in the training community. So inspirational keynotes. So our executives, our SES cadre, we have about, I think, 90 at the time right now. We tap into that group and they come in and they talk about their leadership journey. And so we have 4 of those talks throughout the cohort. And I'll tell you, it's really nice to see some of these talks are just so open and candid. And again, that's another pivotal piece where, you will hear people just come in with humility and talk about times where they've struggled and but they've overcome it, and this is how I did that, or their perspective on leadership. And there's just such a great, honest, open conversation going on, and inspirational at the same time. That it really has helped form relationships with their executives, with the cohort. Some of the cohort members still have relationships where now they're mentoring some of our cohort. They come in and we also get to learn about some of the work that CMS does that we didn't know about, but usually these people are the executives that come in are people that are strong proponents of the program, very interested in development, and it's just inspirational to see. So that's our inspirational keynote piece. And then I talked about the feedback. We're always looking for that. And of course, attendance is mandatory, right? Of course it is. And then we did talk about Cornell, fantastic partners. And then one piece I did not talk about was our accountability partner piece. When they first come in, part of orientation is, linking them with someone in the cohort that they can build a relationship with and lean on. Hey, did you get that assignment? Do you know what day we're supposed to start this? Or, so those accountability partner relationships are really important in this group because there's a lot of moving parts. They keep each other on course, on track. And we've seen that to be a successful piece there. And then we have graduation, which is awesome. Cornell University gives everyone a certificate of completion from Cornell. And then we give a certificate as well, but it's a big, it's a great congratulations. And they actually, that's one of the action learning projects where they plan their own graduations, and it's really fun and just a great time to enjoy their accomplishment. So that's the Peterson Experienced Leaders Program in a nutshell. I'm going to head on now over to, wait, let me catch my breath. Okay. I'm from New York, so I tend to talk fast. So the next program that we're going to highlight is the Aspiring Leaders Program, and another great, I think, great benefit to CMS. To me, there's a lot of Aspiring Leaders programs out there. But I think that what I love about this one is that it is, again, CMS centric. And I love that it provides that, bench strength for us for succession planning, for people that are interested in becoming a leader. in the future. We've already developed people. We've given them some skills. We've also, the most important piece to this, absolutely, is that job preview. Do I want to be a manager? I don't know. There's some hard things to do as a manager. So we try to kind of give them that realistic job preview, as it says here on the screen. And, you know, really, it helps people to kind of get that perspective of like, geez, do I want to do this? Or yes, I can do this. And by the way, while you're in this program and you're wondering, or you're trying to figure that out, we're going to give you the skills that you need in order to become that. So here we go. I'm going to go into a little bit deeper. So our audience is the 13, 14 non-supervisors who are interested in learning more about becoming a supervisor at CMS. And again, we use the same methodology of design that we did for the Peterson Experienced Leaders Program, where we did those focus groups. We knew, though, going into this, I think we all knew we needed to do this. So this was just a really nice fit for everybody. And so we collaborate. Remember, we have that partner that we collaborate with in order to do our cohort programs. That's the model we use. And so we collaborate with Partnership for Public Service, which has been a great collaboration and a good decision on our part. They also have a similar program, but this is really CMS focused and centric. Again, that's what I think makes the difference. And then, of course, we have 25 people per cohort. It's again 100% virtual, as that fits our need here to reach nationwide. And then the time commitment's about 4 hours per week. And then the other features there's a couple different features in this program that I'll point out. Same mentoring, or no, mentoring is more focused, I'm sorry, in this particular cohort. The idea is, these folks, if they're interested in becoming leaders, we want them to have like someone, once they graduate the program, they can have that mentoring relationship for the rest of their career. And that really is supportive in that way. Again, it's another way of, networking throughout CMS as well. Networking is a big piece here. We have our action learning projects again at accountability partners. But one thing that's unique to this program too is the blind application review process. And so we've had a lot of people interested in this program, and a little overwhelming in some places. So we wanted to make sure that we took all bias out. And so we did so by creating this application process where everybody's assigned a number, all of their identifying information is taken off of their application, and it goes through a 2-process review. One is internal review. Again, we don't know anything, there's no way we know who these people are. They just get number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then it goes in, and this is a nice component. When Deb said friends and family, it sure is friends and family, because we bring back the Peterson Experienced Leaders Program, and they become our second panel for this application process. And so again, they don't know who those people are. They don't know where they work at CMS. All of that is stripped out. And then that's how we do it. So we take 25, and then sometimes we've ran 2 cohorts concurrently. It's a little bit of a push for us, but it works. And but last year we decided to just do 1, but who knows? So, but we can do them 2 concurrently. And then in this cohort, we focus on the 260, CPI 260 as the assessment. Trying to think. So here are the different components. So we have, of course, the training modules that we provide, the individual coaching, again, through ICF for certified person coach, a touch points, and we're doing the same things. The one thing that is really, to me, really unique is the panel discussions. So we bring in managers from the Peterson Experienced Leaders Program, again, ding, ding, ding. So they come in and they become a panel of managers that come and talk about their experiences at CMS and as being, leaders. And it's an open discussion so people can ask questions and that sort of thing. We also have another panel where we bring on our HR experts, and they talk about what are the legalities around becoming a manager? And we just have a very frank discussion there. And so we have those panels are really important for that management preview piece that we talked about. Also, what we try to instill, and that's not on here, is we want them to talk. We want them to get on their feet and, be able to present. So we do elevator speeches is like the first week you're in the cohort. we start to, okay, tell us an elevator speech about what you do at CMS, so, and it's constantly ingrained throughout the program, that communications piece, through there. And then, of course, we have our executives come in, and there's 2 executive talks here. And that's, again, very important and helpful throughout the cohort. And then our team projects. Well, the team projects are really fun for the ALP in particular, because they get really competitive and they try to outdo one another. And what we do is at the end, we have a panel of managers who come in, a mixture of help and a couple of people that are friends and family to the ALP program. And they'll come in and we'll like be the panel that they're trying to sell the project to. And what is really fun is at the end, and really they come up with these elaborate PowerPoints, and the way that they present becomes it's just really great. And this is another opportunity for us to provide, real-time feedback to them, is we're trying to give them constructive feedback on their presentation. So it's a really nice time for them. And then we have the graduation, which we partner with them to plan their own graduation. That's that part where they give back to the cohort. So I think I've captured everything in the aspiring leaders. Did I miss anything, Deb?
There was one question you received about action learning and how do you pick the projects, and do you have a action learning mentor or coach?
Yes, you do. We do have an action learning coach for each action learning project. Assigned a staff member is assigned to help, and that would be not like I said, we had 2 program managers that run the program, but I also integrate my own team into. They serve as those mentors. And then, what was the first question? What are some of the projects? So,
how do you pick the projects?
So for the Aspiring Leaders program, we have a set base of like the competency-based projects, and we ask that they pick the competency which they're not the best in, and then they do a presentation on. And I'm trying to remember which one those are. Sorry. So
that's okay. We're also probably running out of time a little bit, but if I remember correctly, you do a combination of provide your own projects, and they can also recommend their own.
Right. They can recommend their own, but we have like self-management, organizational capabilities, problem solving, team building, teamwork. That's for the aspiring leaders, but for the Peterson Experience leaders, that's where they're mostly picking their own, and they're getting it approved by me, actually. So they run it by me, and I'm kind of the project sponsor, and then I approve or, help them come up with something different. So
very cool. Thank you.
We're running out of time, so I'm going to turn this back over to you, Deb. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just going to do a real quick close and talk about our outcomes for this. In the past 5 years, these programs have been in existence. We collect feedback and we track formal movement of participants. So we get feedback, of course, and consistently 4.5 out of 5 or better, that we are getting the evaluations, and we do it on individual courses as well as the entire program. And we also go back and talk to them 60, 90 days out. But here's the thing that I'm also very excited about. While this is not this is not a prerequisite to moving up in the organization. None of our programs are purely for development. But for the PELP, 35% of our participants have been promoted or taken on a larger role in the organization. And of that, 4 participants have been promoted to SES. So we're very excited. We're not looking at causality here, but one could make that claim. Anyway, and then for the ALP, about 50% have been promoted or taken on larger roles in the organizations. And of that 50%, 20 have been promoted to a manager position. So we're very excited about that. And then Mel has already talked about how each cohort creates a plan for how to give back. So that's a little bit about the outcomes or the stats. And with that, we are going to turn it over. We have 10 minutes left. Kind of rush through this. Whatever questions you have, you can either text it or chat it, or come off speaker. I mean, silent.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Jennifer.
Hi, great brief. Thank you so much. I work for with actually with Joy Watkins a little bit at DISA doing leadership development, and we're currently in the process of building a new leadership development program to enhance what we currently have. And one of the challenges we face, and I was just curious to know, do you guys, with these programs you have, this overall program, is there any kind of formal policy or formal memorandum that's supported by your director or senior leadership, as part of the accountability for participation when people do participate?
That is a great question. Not really.
Okay.
So we get a lot of senior management support. The only thing that is required is manager approval.
Okay.
But once people spend all that time and energy to apply, to get in, to go to the orientations, and orientations, by the way, are with their supervisors, they don't tend to back out, and they
Right.
tend to, and we also address any behavioral issues around that.
Okay. So there is kind of a contract or an agreement that the supervisor, at least, I guess there's a signature with that lets you
Yes.
know, hey, I understand my individuals participating in this. I approve their participation and all that's
Yes.
required to complete the program. Okay. So that's there.
That's in the application, Jennifer.
Okay. That's part of
Yeah.
your application.
And then also for PELP, they do have to sign a continuous service agreement.
That's
Yes.
what's going to be my next question is, do you have a CSA? On
Yes.
the end? Okay.
Sure do. Good
Okay.
question. Thank you,
Awesome.
Jennifer.
Thank
Good
you so
luck
much.
to you.
Ma'am. Thank you.
Anything else? What other questions? Comments, thoughts?
I have one.
Okay.
So when you spoke about the PELP, one of the things you mentioned was that when you take the applications first come, first serve, you focus only on those that have been in the agency for 3 years. Is that more to maintain the numbers, or do you want to have a certain amount of experience within the agency before?
It's B. I mean, we want them to have a certain amount of experience. And we also feel like you're going through a lot of training your first year anyway as a new manager. This just breaks it up a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. What else?
There is a question in the chat. How long is the CSA? And that's from Francine.
I just answered it, but the CSA, so there's a formula that we have that we follow for the CSA, and for the Peterson Experienced Leaders Program is 6 months. It's based off the cost of the program.
All right, we got about another 7 minutes. Anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask?
You're welcome, Francis. Is there a cost? How do you manage if the budget gets tight?
Oh, so that's a good question. So we're very fortunate that we have some central funding. And so we do not bill back to the individual or the component, which also helps with participation, by the way. But we are very, very fortunate to have central funding.
And then that second part that from Lanera, how do you manage it if the budget gets tight?
So we plan, it's a great question as well. We plan ahead of the time. And we know what to expect. So it's all kind of paid for up front. Like if we're doing something with Cornell or with partnership, we will pay for it up front of the program. And honestly, if we don't have the money if we're in a CR or something to that extent, we'll push it out. But we never do anything Q4 or Q1. We only start these programs Q2. Or I mean Q2 and 3. Does that make sense? Did I get that right, Mel?
You sure did. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
I think a lot of us are in that same boat when we wait until the CR ends. Last year, I think
Right.
it went through March, so that was a little hectic for most of us.
Yep. There was one year we didn't get funding until June.
Oh, wow. We do what we
So-
can.
Yeah, right. You do what you can. We're here. You can reach out to either of us anytime, and we'd love to hear, what you guys are doing as well and learn from you guys as well.
Awesome, thank you. And that is one of the great things about TOC is that community of sharing of best practices, benchmarks. And as I bring up TOC, I might as well bring up TOC. So I want to thank everyone for joining today. We had at our max, I know a lot of people have to leave and go depending on what's going on within your own agencies. At max point, we had about 45 people within the room. This was recorded. We will post that to our TOC website. And I know some people like to ask about the slides. We'll be getting those slides from Deborah and Melanie, and we'll be able to send those out to all the attendees and registrants as soon as we get those and as soon as our CIO gets back on board. And highlighting TOC, keep in mind that we have our annual conference coming up 165 days out. Registration for the TOC conference and the rest of the program year is still open. And our next event, this is our last event of this calendar year. So we're closing out 2025 with the CMS team and leadership development programs. Now, our next event is going to be an in-person event somewhere in the DC area. So it'll be a surprise on January 14th, where we get to play in the sandbox. And that is one of our big workshops where we'll be working and learning from each other on our own projects and initiatives that we're trying to bring into our agencies. And again, welcome and thank you for coming. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and happy Veterans Day for yesterday for all of our veterans that are out there. Correct. Yes. Award nominations, please get them in by the end of the week. And volunteer. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.